Good morning. I forgot to hit the right button there, folks. So I apologize for that. Let me know if you can hear me if you're still out there. Yeah, Garrett cheated. He came in and said hi yesterday. I don't think he's here. Michelle might be, but I don't think Garrett's here. My hair looks funny. Oh well. Let me see here. Let me do a vocal check real quick so I can hear myself. Oh, I don't have it turned on. That's why. Greetings, Don. And felicitations to you as well. Now I know I can hear myself. Hang on a minute. Greetings, Don. There we go. Maybe things are back to normal. Can you guys hear? I can hear. Yes, he did, Carol. He certainly did. He actually called me yesterday and said he was going to do that so he could be the first one in, because I'm always giving him grief about. He gives me grief about my show being on too early in the morning for West Coasters, and I give him grief about his show being on too late for East Coasters. I mean, it's not, but I have to say something. And good morning again, everybody. Don, did you guys get any of that nasty weather that came through up here last night? We're getting a little bit of it right now, but I don't think we've got tornado warnings at the moment. Although, you know what? I missed an alert a while ago. Let me look real quick just in case. I'm downstairs. I couldn't get much lower in the house, so I'm probably just as well off right here. We may have a guest today. I'm not sure. He said he might be here and he might not. I won't say who until I find out a little bit more. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning, so it's always possible that I'll get kicked offline. If I do, I'll try to be back as soon as I can. But see how much this is affected. Oh, actually, technically, that's just south of me. No, I got it too. It's weird. It's a warning for this area, but it's not. The affected area is south of here. I had some. I guess I don't know if you guys watch news or not, or Saturday morning news, but there were some really bad tornadoes. So I hope any of our friends in Kentucky are safe. Apparently, tornadoes rolled through there and raised hell last night and killed. They think between 50 and 100 people. They're not sure yet. That's bad. If it is, that's one of the. I can't remember if they said that was the worst weather-related disaster in Kentucky history, or at least in a long time. I'm sure that hurricanes have greater numbers. Not that that's something I want to brag about or talk about, but I'm sure that they. And we do have a hail threat, although it's not huge. I hear thunder now. I'll keep an eye on it. I should be fine. Oh, there went the weather. I mean, the radar. Let me see where we're at here. Looks like we're right on the edge of the red band, so maybe it'll blow right through. It doesn't look very deep here. It was moving further north than it was this way, and it looks like maybe it's just going to pass blowing right on through here, not too terribly long. So we'll hope that's the case. And again, back to you folks. I hope everybody is having decent weather where you are. Carol, you're in Ohio, I think you said. If you're still here, how deep into Ohio have you ventured? But anybody like some pumpkin bread? Yes, you do, Carol. That's my brand new Scotland flag. Ah, that's okay, Pearl. He must have got you up early this morning. Here you go. I'll give you some, Pearl, if you can get it. Reach out through here. There's a mini loaf. Brenda made those last night. You're at a water park? Indoor water park, Carol? When you say blizzard in this case, are you talking about all rain, or are you getting some snow now that'll just go away? I have a picture. I'll have to try to see if I can pull it up in a little while. My buddy Mark sent me a picture from Wyoming the other day, and I was talking to him yesterday, and he said it was 19 degrees and the wind was blowing 35 miles an hour. Well, that's good, Pearl. Good sleep is highly underrated and far too rare around this house, I'm afraid. Well, I think we're going to have a wet, windy, and noisy morning as far as weather goes. Of course, anytime when it's like this, there could be tornadoes, but I don't think they're calling for any right now. Ah, melted snow. Anyway, like I said, my buddy Mark's house, he sent me a picture. I'll have to see if I can pull that up. I don't know if I've got it on my phone. I don't know if I can pull it up on here or not. But it had snowed, or was snowing quite a bit. Snowing hard enough you barely can see his horses. They're there. Well, two of them are. Or his mule. Now that I think about it, I couldn't see it well enough to know if it was his mule. He has one jack mule. Actually, technically, I think it belongs to one of his sons. Excuse me. Good pumpkin bread, though. I was going to have my traditional Saturday morning meal for the condemned man is usually a sausage biscuit. I don't try not to eat them during the week. I usually have a couple for breakfast on Saturday. And trust me, I've had more than my fair share of sausage biscuits and biscuits of all kinds in my life, but I'm trying not to have them every day. And it's paid off. I've lost some weight. Wow, Carol, you take that personally. That's Buckham Bear. And why is that Buckham Bear? Does anybody know what the past 10 days have been? What's been going on somewhere in the country? Hey, Cherie! The last 10 days in America. This is this is almost like, really, it's almost, to me, it's better than Super Bowl week. Or Super Bowl Sunday, because one, it does last 10 days. It's something I've been watching since I was a yonker. And it's even better these days because I get to watch all 10 days of a 10-day event. When I was growing up, the best you could do was maybe see a couple of hours on a Sunday where they wrap things up. And that was just led me to want more and more and more. Now, Don, you might know you're in Texas. That sometimes that Texas participates heavily in this particular competition. Oh no, I didn't, Cherie. I'm sorry. I see you said something to Pearl. Oh, good. No, Cherie, I apologize. I did not say. I got distracted by trying to give Pearl some pumpkin bread through the computer. Sorry about that. It wasn't intentional, believe me. This bear, sometimes this old bear can't do but one thing at a time. Rodeo, you're absolutely right, Don. Give her a prize. I don't know what it's going to be, but you get a prize anyway. This has been the National Finals Rodeo. Happens every year in the first part of December. And I've been watching it since I was a wee child, or at least since it started coming on TV, which it's been going on since the 50s. And I don't remember the first time I ever saw it. I'm going to say sometime in the 60s. But nowadays, because of TV coverage and cable, for the last few years, I've been able to catch all 10 days. And in the last 2 years, sorry, thought I heard something. The rain. Yeah, I think the rain's coming. The last 2 years, Cowboy Channel has gotten the TV rights, so they've been really showing it up. And of course, why wouldn't they? They're the Cowboy Channel. Oh, Cherie, that's cool. Good for you. You win. That's right. I'm not sure yet what you're going to win. You may just win, acclaim and salutations and congratulations for being the winner. But maybe I can come up with something for the day's over. I don't suppose you'd be interested in a small moonshine jar with Tylenol in it. Probably not. I'd send you my old cowboy hat, but it's pretty rough shape. Well, you're off the whole weekend. You win accolades, absolutely. But I'm a rodeo fan. I guess it goes back to growing up with westerns and playing cowboys and Indians. I don't know. I have a picture of me at probably about 3 years old in a red cowboy hat and a holster with a little cap gun and a pair of cowboy boots on, and standing by the swing set that my mom took. Well, I know the hat was red. It might have been a black and white picture, but I remember the hat was red because I had it. Looked kind of like Woody's hat, that kind of a cowboy hat. But so I guess somewhere inside I've always been a little bit of a cowboy. You barrel raced. Well, mama, you'll have to talk. We'll have to get you on here and talk about that someday. I think one of my cousins barrel raced them. They showed horses a lot, but they used to do barrel races at those shows. And I think she barrel raced a little bit. And then my buddy Mark's, his sister and her daughters both have barrel raced over the years. And I think they still are a little bit up in southern Ohio or in Ohio. I don't know where all they raced. Those barrel racing gals are quite the jockeys, and their horses are pretty special too. A little high strung sometimes. I've always heard. I've never really been around them much, but yeah, it's definitely starting to rain. The wind's still blowing, but it's so far so good. Anyway, well, that's got a lot to do with it, Don. I mean, you need a good horse. You know, you can be the best rider in the world without a good horse. You're pretty much dead in the water. I'm waiting for, and this is going to happen soon. I think sooner than later. Now that I think women's rodeo is going to come on and take a bigger I always wondered why there's only women riding barrels at the National Finals Rodeo, which is what I've been watching this week. And I think in the next year or two, there's going to be at least one more event added, and maybe a couple more events. They do roping, women rope. Probably, I mean, I'm sure some women do a whole lot more than that. I've never seen a woman barrel or a bull rider yet, although I wouldn't doubt it. I could see them team roping, probably calf roping, maybe, probably. But they do breakaway roping. Did you ever do that, Don, or did you ever do any of that kind of stuff or see it? I'm sure you've seen it done out there. You hung out in rodeos and horse shows and things where they did barrel racing. I'm sure they were doing other things too, or some of them might have been. Yeah, I would say that's true. There it comes. Ooh, trees are moving around. Ooh, now it's really coming. Sorry, I just happened to. I was watching some of my trees sway out there. Fortunately, they're all going down the hill. Oh, that's cool. I asked Mark, he's been out and hey, there's Brenda Pruitt. Yes, and Brenda is correct. I could lose power. That's what I said a few minutes ago. If I do, I'll probably try to come back on. It depends on if it just flickers in and out, or if it actually stays off for a while. I'm hoping it doesn't get that bad, but you never know. Sometimes, for a while, it didn't seem like we had power outages much when it rained here or stormed, but it seems like here lately, every time the wind blows or the rain falls, we get a little bit of we get flickers. Hang on just a moment. Brenda Carroll's at the swimming pool somewhere, or water park, excuse me. Let me see if I can find that picture. Since we're talking about weather and rodeo. Whoa. What was that, buddy? You want to go check that out? Teddy's checked that. Something hit the porch. Teddy's going to check that out for me. I think it's probably just leaf or a small limb, but our house is pretty much got trees around it. The back trees are off the house ways. I worry more about those. We've still got 2 or 3 pine trees, which around here that can be fairly concerning. There it is. Let me share this with you real quick. This was Wyoming about 2 or 3 days ago. There you go. What do you think? How many horses do you see? There's one obvious one right here. There's another one in there, and it took me a little while to find it, honestly. You know what? I think I might just see another one. I can't make it any bigger. If it's bigger, you can see them just a little bit better, but there's at least two there. Now I'm looking at something that almost looks like feet, so there might be three. If that's the third one, we're looking right at its rear end. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Mark how many horses were out there. That was he sent me that a couple of mornings and said it was winter time and hit finally. They hadn't had a lot of snow yet, and I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Colorado, Denver usually has snow around Thanksgiving, and they hadn't had any measurable snow either till the last couple of days. And maybe they're still wishing for it, but anyway, that's what winter looks like in Wyoming. Of course, yes, I told you yesterday, you said it was 19 degrees and blowing at 35. So, I don't know how jealous to be, but I have to admit, I do miss having some winter. And we don't seem to have much winter anymore. Okay, Carol. Bye-bye. Oh, water park, duh. Maybe she's just at swim lessons today. It could have been a fat squirrel. He might have got blown off the tree. Boy, do we have some big ones out here now. We have some porker squirrels, and that probably will show up on the could show up on the livestock market any day if they keep growing. I guess they'll keep growing as long as I'm feeding them, which seems to be what we do now, is feed squirrels. Evidently, whatever it wasn't too exciting because Teddy's back to napping again. But it did wake him up, which is saying something, because last night I was sitting about 3 feet from him and I couldn't get him to wake up and pay attention. Well, I don't know. Well, I'll wait just a little bit longer. I had something up. I don't know how many of you saw my thumbnail, but I had a picture on there, and I just wondered how many people, or the people on my show at least, would know what that was. So if you saw it and you have an idea, by all means, let me know what you think, and I'll show you in a few minutes what it really was. At least I think I will. I believe I saved it somewhere. It was a picture taken in an area we were restoring and converting back to native grasses when I was at TVA. Doing my natural resource work. Trying to replant native grasses has been a big deal, sort of, I guess, in a movement in some ways in the habitat restoration field in the last 20, 25 years or so, maybe a little longer. Interesting is that a lot of those native grass seeds are still in the ground, and if you disturb the ground enough and get rid of the competition, a lot of them pop right back up. Time to start yawning, folks. Pearl, that's a thought. They do hold that position a lot. I saw one out here yesterday praying, but I think he was praying that the hawk that was flying around the house wasn't going to get him. I can kind of tell they'll freeze out there if there's one passes by. We have a few Cooper's hawks that hang out in this area. Plus, we usually have a red-shouldered pair or two hang around this area. And I saw a big one come by it looked like a red tail, but it went just past the trees here a couple of days ago. And man, those squirrels freeze as soon as they see one. I'd say they're far more afraid of the birds than they are the cats here. But usually you can kind of tell because they'll sit there and they won't move. And usually they're under something like the railing of the stairs or the back. There's a railing around our back porch. They'll get underneath that and look. Or they'll be on a tree branch and they'll sit real still. The squirrels have a nasty habit of giving themselves away, though. I squirrel hunted a lot in years back, and usually you find the squirrel when they start twitching their tail. They don't seem to be able to help themselves. They can freeze. Squirrels are funny. They'll flatten themselves out, and they'll lay on a branch and almost wrap their legs around it in a way, and they'll lay perfectly still, except then their tail will start twitching. And the wind might catch it a little bit, and you can watch for that tail. If you can find the tail twitching, you can usually find the squirrel. Hey, Kay, no worries. You're not late. You're just at a previous engagement. We're not on that tight of schedule. I hope you're well this morning. I bet you don't have snow. Sorry, guys. I bet you don't have snow this morning, do you? I need to remember to check my messages once in a while and make sure I haven't missed something. Well, it's all calming down. Hey, there's a bird on the feeder. I'm afraid he's finding no luck. 2 birds on the feeders. I tell you what, we refilled feeders a few days ago, and it didn't take squirrels no time to get them cleaned out again. We had some birds too, mind you, but the squirrels were the main culprits. Only fog. Well, that's sometimes that's almost as bad as snow. We're doing well, I think. So far, it's been kind of I hadn't been around much lately. I know a couple of people have asked me what I haven't felt all that prime in the last few days. I started back into therapy again and last week, and it's kind of kept me a little bit sore and down. And then this week, I started back in the pool, which is good, but that's got me kind of tired. Has had me kind of tired too. And my left leg is just giving me fits, but maybe it'll get over it soon. I hope, or I will, or something. Okay, let me see if I can pop. Let me try to share the screen again and let me show you a couple of things. And we will see. I'm not ready yet. Nope, back off, cancel. I will try to show you a couple of the things I was hoping to show you. I probably could have just done it like this and not made it so hard. But we'll see. Well, I have to keep moving my microphone around here. Excuse me. If I can find the pictures, bear with me. You know, I just did this a few minutes ago. You'd think I'd had this all ready. Wrong pictures. Okay, here we go. Well, I still don't have. Hang on just a moment. Maybe it's right here. Well, no. Well, maybe I can just pull it up this way. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to be so. I thought I had my act together a little bit better. Here it is. I think. Oh, here's a better one. Now, let me share this screen with you. And see, this was my thumbnail for this morning, but you might be able to see it better here. This item right here is what I was going to ask about. Who out there thinks they know what that is, or does know what that is? Now I'm trying to get stuff out of the way so I can see it. Why am I getting so many? What is going on here? That is just weird, guys. I apologize. It's doing strange things there. So anyway, maybe you got to see it. A stump? Well, that's what it looks like, Pearl. That's a good guess. I'd bring it back up, but I don't know what was going on. It sort of acted like it suddenly had a mind of its own. No, that's not where it was. Now I've lost it altogether. I first saw one of these. Actually not sure what year it was. We saw this. Brenda and I may have even been together the first time I ever saw one. I'm not sure, but it was just something that I saw, looked at it a little closer, thought, wow, this is kind of cool. And then once I actually found out what it was, I don't know, it didn't seem quite as cool. Let me see if I can share it one more time without screwing up the whole world here. Okay, there it is. I don't know how well you can see it. But from a distance, until you get right up to it and look at it, it does indeed look like a tree stump. And mind you, that one's probably about 5 feet tall. Maybe at least 6 feet tall. At least 4 feet tall. That's a tombstone. And it's a tombstone that was labeled well, of course, it had the person's name on it and birth and date of when they passed away and all that. And it has, and I found out that it also said Woodsman of the World. Has anybody else ever heard of Woodsman of the World? I'm hoping nobody knows, because, I mean, if you do, that's great. But I was, hey, Kelly, good morning. You got here just in time to talk about strange gravestones. How's the Mickey Bunch today? Well, Pearl, it may be, but it's also something else. And that's where I found it to be just a tiny bit disappointing. And I suspect there's tombstones like that all over the country, but I've only seen them here, but this is the only place I've ever looked for them. It was basically an insurance plan. And somewhere around the turn of the century, and I'm not sure how many years, you can look them up. They're out there, or they were. I don't know for sure if they still exist as that or not. But you could buy a policy, pay premiums for X amount of years, and when you passed away, they guaranteed you or your family a headstone for your grave, and it was in some form of tree trunk or something similar. And I've got a couple examples here I was going to show, so I'm going to share again if I can make this work. So bear with me, but this should happen pretty quick, because I think I've got this part ready. So I'm going to show you this. Oh, wait a minute. And I named this, my name may sound somewhat misleading, because I didn't really get this idea together fast enough and let it get filled out before I got finished. But I'm going to go ahead and show what I had. So I call this Interesting Wonders. Do you know what this is? But once you know what that one was, you're going to probably find that you know what the others are. But here's the 3 examples of these Woodsmen of the World stones. And that first one says Woodman of the World Memorial. And it says something below that, and I can't read it. I didn't notice that before. Might be Roman or Latin. And I guess you could kind of have stuff put on them that you wanted, and you obviously what you get is what you can afford to pay for, I suppose, in time. This one says Libby and my husband. So Libby must have been making the decisions in the headstone buying back then. But you can see hers is a tree trunk with on a small stack of logs. Her husband's is on a slightly different. I don't know this. I've not seen any others quite like this one. And honestly, usually they're either all one thing or all the other. I've seen a lot of them that were just this. A little stack of logs with a nameplate and the dates and all that put on it. Or this stump, but not the combination of the two. But these stones are in a historical cemetery that's in Knoxville, right downtown. It's called the Old Gray Cemetery, and there's some amazing stones. That's what put me on this path originally. There's a headstone in this cemetery that, while we don't know if it's related to Brenda, is her maiden name is Holloway. And inside this graveyard, there's a fairly large stone that has a train wreck depicted on the top of it. You know, a crumpled down train, a failed trestle or something. And it was a crash that happened, I almost want to say 1925, but it may have been before that because I couldn't find the picture last night. I tried to get Brenda to take me down there last night about dark, and she decided it was too late to be doing something like that. Plus, I think they closed at dark. They have a gate, so I don't think we could have gotten in anyway. I had a photography project while I was in college to go out and take pictures of something. And I went to the cemetery and took a bunch of pictures of that stone and some other ones. Just because I thought they were interesting. Brenda and I like to go out and look at old headstones in some of these country cemeteries and the mountain cemeteries because they tend to be unique. You get into the mountains, they're usually nothing like this. If you saw something like this, you'd probably see be the rich landowner type, But most of them in the mountains are just small. If there's a headstone at all, sometimes it's a rock, and they hand carve them. But these Woodsmen of the World Woodsmen of the World stones got my attention, and they're unique. And that one I showed you on the first, we literally sort of stumbled across that one on federal land. Nobody knew it was there, or it wasn't marked anywhere. It was just out by itself. And chances are it's a lone grave, possibly a family grave site that was never completely, that no one else was buried in that we know of, but it was at least one. And that happens. We find lone graves out in there sometimes. Some of them are marked, some of them aren't. When TVA was established in the 30s, they went around and either relocated cemeteries onto new plots of land. And usually they would buy the land, move the graves, set everything back up, and then give that to the cemetery association or family, whatever the case might have been. They didn't move them all, and if you didn't want them moved, TVA just left them. And some of them are maintained, and a lot of them aren't. But that one, that big tree stump, the Woodman monument that I showed you, there's several of those around the reservoir, and that one was one that we discovered. The guy that was helping us clear that property, or not clear it, but getting the weeds and brush out of the way so we could replant the grass. And there it was in front of his bulldozer one day. So we made sure it was, in decent order and left it. I'm sure it still stands that way today unless somebody's gone in there and knocked it down. Hey, Dave, you're not late. You're just not here at the same time as everybody else. There's no schedule. Glad to have you. We were just talking about some interesting cemetery headstones, believe it or not. Because of these, if you see the screen, you see the one that looks like a tree trunk. These were in a cemetery downtown, but I found those out in the woods and in places that you didn't always expect to see cemeteries. And so I had to look them up and find out what they were. See, that one says 1857 to 1903. So, of course, that doesn't mean that's when I'll have to look those guys up again. Oh, you did? Well, I'm sorry if I interfered with your show, Dave. I apologize for that. I didn't know you were on this morning. What happens if I do this? Is that any better for you guys? Is that a bigger? I know I'm smaller, but hell, nobody wants to see me anyway. If that helps you guys see the images better, that's good. I've got a few more. The rest of them aren't really a mystery. They're just unique. Or kind of unique. I think about these, and then I think about the ones in the mountains that I was talking about a minute ago, and I'll get into that again in a moment. But so these were the ones that really I thought were cool. Hey, John, good morning, Surf Bum. Glad to see you, buddy. Have you ever seen a tombstone that looked like either one of these on the page today? I am kind of curious if anybody else has seen them because I don't know how far ranging this company went. I don't know if they got out west, if they were mostly back east. And my guess is they went pretty much everywhere. The ads that I have looked up and found for them, read magazines and things, so people could probably just about anywhere could order one or, buy into it. It was disappointing to me because, being a woodsy kid and growing up that way and stuff, I thought, wow, who can be a woodman of the world? That would be so cool. A woodman, not just a logger, not just a woodman. It just had such a more authoritative or respectful ring to it. And then I found out that it was just anybody could get one. All you had to do was order, pay for it, order it. So it's been. You probably have, Pearl. I would not be surprised at all if they didn't have these in your home country. Could be wrong, but I grew up here too, and I didn't notice them or see them until I was at least in my 30s. Before I ever really noticed them out there. Well, let's see what else I might have taken a picture. Well, I got these two because obviously these were, I'm going to guess both of these were for women. I'm not positive about that. One of them I'm sure you can read. Both are kind of old, but I think what strikes me about some of these is how elaborate they actually are. And I wonder when these were done, when these folks passed, when these stones were carved, I can't see what year that was. March 23rd. I'm not sure. I'll find one here in a minute that I can read. It had to cost a lot of money. Not just anybody could have a stone monument carved that elaborately. And, which is where I was going a minute ago, because a lot of the ones we find here out in the country, a lot of times they're just fill stones. I've seen a lot of fill stones. They're just scratched, the names, the information. It's just scratched onto them, and that's all they had. Yeah, it is. And this is, I think there's probably some that are far more detailed and fancy than these. But these two caught my eye when I was there before, and I thought I would add a couple of those in. Same with these. I mean, this first one, to me, almost looks like Lady Liberty, or if she had a set of scales in her hand, I would think she looked like no, she'd have to have a blindfold on, wouldn't she? If that's even a she, that could be a he. Maybe that's supposed to be Jesus. I don't know. But I thought this second one was unique because I don't think I've ever seen one that had a shawl or a cape draped over it like this one does. It says 1869. So that's been there since 1869. 1800s, that had to be, that's not something just everybody can afford to buy back then. That's pretty detailed. I mean, that carving or casting, but I suspect carving, is pretty detailed, and the flowers are too. Yeah, John, when we find stuff that's anywhere near that old back here, they're the same way. Of course, this is in a city that may have had, Knoxville's on the Tennessee River. I'm sure there was trade here at one time related to the river and other things, crossroads as time went on. And who knows what some of these folks might have been doing or had been involved in, but they obviously had money. Oops, went the wrong way there. And then these are the really sad ones. That first one is a small girl. Usually these are for children. And the second one, if you'll notice, has two small lambs atop it. When you go into the mountains, one of the things that struck me the first time we ever really searched through a mountain cemetery was just how many children were there. And a lot of times they may have lived a day or two. Some of them may have lived a few weeks. Some of them may have lived a few months. Don't see a lot of twins depicted in such a way, but you do see a lot of young people set gravestones. Even young boys and girls that are 10 or 11 years old were so susceptible to the next flu virus or bug that came along. But there was also accidents. I mean, kids worked on the farms. They were around machinery or equipment or barn lofts or horses or a mule. They were met sad ends in so many different ways. But so many of them did die at birth. It's amazing when you get into there's some cemeteries in Smoky Mountains in the national park, especially around Cades Cove, that have, there's a cemetery up there that probably has 80 to 100 graves in it that you can see. And I bet 20% of them are children. And almost nobody in there lived to be very old at all. But where's the shield? I'm sorry. Was that the one I passed up? Well, now it's going backwards on me. Sorry. Let me see if I can get you guys back to where we started. Let's see here. Were you talking about this one, Pearl? Oh, that's a shield. Oh, you were asking me. Well, I'm not sure. I should go back and pay more attention to some of these and write down some more details, I guess. But these were children, and again, like I said, that's the sad side of, well, cemeteries, I guess, are sad, but as a rule, but these in particular. And then these last two were this one kind of shows the age of this place. This grave, which was just a small stone, and that's more common, has been pretty much consumed by this tree. And then over here, we've got the ubiquitous Southern war hero. And I say that because these are almost all Confederate soldiers, which is kind of an odd thing in a way, because this end of Tennessee was primarily Union oriented. From here west to Nashville was a little bit more Southern inclined, but and maybe Knoxville was kind of the cut off for that. And the South, so Confederate Army was based there some for this end of the state. Tennessee was not the most, I don't know what the right word is, secure state that succeeded for as far as the South was concerned. This end of the state fought tooth and nail to become a separate state, much like West Virginia did. Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee probably it's almost a surprise they didn't form their own state, because they both wanted out. Or back in, I guess, depending on how you look at it. All right, that's all those I had today. And like I said, it started out being something else and then ended up being mostly about cemetery stones. And I could have put together a lot more, but I didn't want to keep putting them. Now, you might be right, Pearl. That may be very true. This particular cemetery is full of trees. It's a lot of big shade trees in that graveyard. Like I said, that graveyard was established sometime in the 1800s, and it's on the National Historic Register and that sort of thing. So there's my screen doing weird things again. What is going on? Oh, maybe that'll help. Maybe I just fixed it. What did Kelly say? I'll be back. Streamception. Stream something. I got it fixed, or at least I'm back to normal. And the rain has stopped. I hope that was the worst we get today. If it is, that's not bad. We'll be good. I think it's going to calm down. I think it's supposed to calm down after this passes anyway. So just feel bad for the folks that really got nailed last night. That was a scary thing. Tornadoes in the night. Well, we've talked about squirrels a little bit. Well, I thought I had a text message. It might have been something important, but it wasn't. I don't think my guest is going to make it today. That's true, Pearl. That is very true. And a fine job you're doing of it too, my friend, sis. You could have knocked me over with a feather when you showed up early. I mean, I just don't. Please don't take this the wrong way. I mean, you guys on the West Coast are. I figured you'd sleep in on a morning like this. I realize this is early for you guys. I mean, it's not early, but considering how many people I know that are on the internet or on YouTube that stay up really late on Friday nights, I'm always a little surprised when they show up on, since early Saturday morning streams. It's, I appreciate it. I really do. And I will ask you to please hit the thumbs up or thumbs down, and just let me know who's out there. Let's see where I'm at here. I'm still holding strong at 89 subscribers, so I guess that's better than going down. I don't think I've gone up any further. I fortunately haven't fallen too far down. I had some other things I was going to talk about today. Things, I was trying to pull up some other. Have you ever seen this along the road? But I'm open to suggestions if anybody has something unique or unusual they've seen. Maybe it's the greatest. Maybe it's the largest ball of twine. I've not seen it. There is something else unique here, not far from us. It's 50 miles or so, I guess, east of us, and I always thought it was odd. But growing up here, maybe you would have too. But there's a small town called Rogersville east of here, and there's some buildings up there that just seemed kind of out of place, and it turns out it was called the Pressman's home, and it was actually a retirement community / vacation area for union workers that were involved with the press industry, newspapers, books, that sort of thing. And I've always found that fascinating that they would come to East Tennessee to build a place, because East Tennessee's never been one of those union-friendly places, at least not back when I was growing up, and this was way before that. So maybe it was then. Maybe it was different at the time. So anytime I see pictures of that, my friend Phil's been up there a time or two. I've been wanting to go up there on my motorcycle. I haven't made it yet, just to look around. Well, no, Pearl, you have a good point there. 7 a.m. is not early if you go to bed at 9 p.m. I hate to say this, but even this East Coaster, when he doesn't go to bed till 2 or 2:30, 7 comes pretty quick. Some mornings way too quick. And unfortunately, that's a far too common occurrence around here. Especially this week. Because as I was saying earlier, I've been watching the rodeo, and since it's on live, oh, I got company, folks. I just realized I have a stranger in the house. Let's see who we got here. Morning, Coon.
Hey, Coon.
What are you chewing on?
Red Man.
Oh, okay. Look like you were eating breakfast.
No.
That could be breakfast, I suppose.
I'm glad to see you're still on the planet Earth.
I am still here. You gonna hang up now?
No, I won't hang up on you.
That's kind of an inside joke. I called Mark up one day and said, "You still alive?" And he said, "Yeah," and I hung up on him. Just wanted to check, make sure he was alive.
Yeah, you guys have been having some pretty awful weather.
Yeah, we have. Fortunately, it kind of blew through here and didn't. Maybe not going to be too bad on us. Kentucky got hammered.
They got hammered. That's a bad deal.
Yeah, it is. Last time I heard, they were thinking there could be up to 100 people killed. So I hope that's not true. But
well, it sounded like just in that candle factory there might be 100 people killed. So.
Oh wow. It flattened a bunch of stuff. I know that. They were showing some pictures earlier. I hadn't looked since I started this, but earlier this morning it was still dark out there. They were showing.
Well, they did a flyover, a drone flyover, and it's just horrendous.
That's the scary thing. Tornadoes are always kind of scary, but when they come in the dark, sneaky, that's really scary.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they can do all the warnings they want to, but if everybody's in bed asleep, most of the time they're not going to hear them. Best hope you got if the dog starts howling or something.
Yeah, it's quite the line of storms.
Yeah.
You guys are still got the hatches battened down and good to go.
Yeah, but I think we had one wave pass through, and I think it's breaking up. It's moving more north now. And all we got out of it was a little bit of thunder and some wind and some rain. Now, I don't know if we're going to get much more out of it or not. I hope not.
Well, I tried to call the folks. They were on the north end trying to get a hold of them. But anyway.
You haven't been able to get a hold of them yet?
No, but my phone was dead. So it's hard to talk. It's hard to talk to people when your phone's dead.
That's true. That is a malady of the modern communication system. Batteries.
I wore this hat for you today because
I see that.
Fun with flags, so you know.
Well, do you recognize my new flag?
I do. I've seen guys with their faces painted just like that.
Yeah, you have. I just got that one.
During St. Patrick's Day, everybody is Irish except the Scots. They're always still Scots.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're just feral Irishmen anyway. But
feral Irishmen. Folks, this is my good friend. Hey, Francisco just stepped in, or at least I just saw him. This is my good friend Mark. Some of you met him a couple weeks ago, or 3 or 4, whatever it's been now, a month, 2, I don't know. And how's the snow out there today?
Oh, we don't have very much. We got a couple, 3 inches maybe, and most of it's blown to Nebraska by now. So,
oh man,
it's cold, but we didn't get too deep of snow.
Did they get in Colorado yet?
I don't know. I suspect. I think in northern Colorado, but not in Denver.
Yeah. Denver's making the news now since they hadn't had any yet, any measurable. They were supposed to get a little bit this week, yesterday or today, but I don't know if they did or not.
My buddy lives in Livermore, north of Fort Collins, he only lives about 15 miles from Wyoming, and they got pounded, but they always get pounded. So
yeah, we've been through there, I think, or close to it anyway. Not positive, but I know we came up through Fort Collins when you picked me up in Denver one time.
Yeah, we would have driven right past Livermore, and Terry lives about, I don't know, 8 or 10 miles west of that little community, and it's just that's a snowy spot on the planet right there. He gets feet of snow when I get inches. So
how high are they there?
They're probably 7,000, somewhere around in there.
So they're a little bit higher than you guys.
They're lower than Laramie. Just about we're at 68. So
you're at 68. Okay. I thought you were a little bit lower in that end of on your where you were at, but
yeah, our the town at Kimmer's about 7,000, and we're just a little lower. We're down the creek a little ways. So
I was watching the rodeo the other night, and somebody on there was talking about Murdochs.
CK said the Scottish friends would take offense of being called wild Irish.
Yeah, well, yeah, they probably would.
But you blend an Irishman with a Pict with a Viking, and you get a Highlander, and that's.
Well, I got all those bloods. I'm big. Maybe I'm in good
you
shape.
Do.
I got Scandinavian, Scottish, Irish, Welsh. I'm a true Heinz 57 in that regard.
My granny McLeish would say she'd be okay with being called feral. Because she darn sure was.
Now, was she MC or MAC? Was she Irish or Scottish?
She was Scots, but she came from those Ulster Scots Scots Irish people.
Right.
They were Scottish people that went to Ireland and then ended up in the States to fight Indians, I guess.
Or the South or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's where some of mine came from too. That's I think. So some of my I don't know. I weren't all, because my great grandfather or great grandfather that is the one that came over here during the famine. He was Roman Catholic, so he wasn't Scottish, I don't think, because they're usually Presbyterians. But and Ulster, a lot of the Ulsters were Protestants, so maybe they didn't all come from up there.
Bobby Bruce's brother brought him over there to fight the Irish, to reclaim Northern Ireland, and that's where that's where the Scots Irish came from.
Oh, I know.
They're really Scots that just happened to live in Ireland. And anyway,
I was looking last night. I've been on this search, trying to figure out or unravel the mysteries of my family. And I've got a book somewhere here. Here it is. My Melungeon book. And I was looking through it last night, and I've meant to do this before. I've kind of glanced at it before. This guy, he doesn't consider this the end-all, be-all book. It was just kind of a general book of who these people are. He is a professor, I think, at ETSU, or was. And he's been involved in other research now about Melungeons. But I was looking through the common surname, or I don't know, which one's your last name called?
Last names.
What, last name?
Yeah. Common last names.
In North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and I found two that they're in my family tree. I'm from Hawkins County, which would make sense. Davis was one, and Johnson is one. The Johnson one actually came out of North and South Carolina, but I've got a Johnson in my grandfather's direct lineage. I think he's my fifth great grandfather, was also from North Carolina in the same area that these folks were from. So I don't know. I think I'm going to track it down eventually. The funny thing is, there's a Pruitt in here. I've never associated that name with anybody other than European. So I never noticed that name in there. It's spelled like mine and ours and everything. It's Pruitt, which there was a lot of other spellings I see, but that's the first time I've ever noticed that one being in there. But that's on the wrong side of the family. I mean, not saying it couldn't be true. I mean, it couldn't be in there, but I've got people from Wartburg and, in that part of the mountains, but that's a little further west. But I had a lot of mom's folks were from born and raised in from the early late 1700s were in the Hawkins County area. So they may very well be. That may be the link I've been looking for. Let's see what Pearl's saying something about genealogy.
She's talking about being at war with each other.
Maybe that's part of my problem too, Pearl. I didn't think Scotch, Irish. I've got Vikings. Maybe I'm at war with everybody.
I definitely had people in my family that went to war with each other. So
yeah, well, yeah. Probably both sides. I mean, both families. I don't know.
Well, Dad's side, they were at Valley Forge, and Washington sent them back to the frontier where they belonged in March. And but on the way they went and burned the Iroquois towns in southern New York, and Mama's people come from there. So
both sides.
Yep.
That's some interesting lineage there, buddy. That's Mark has been doing.
It's pretty cool country. It's been pretty cool time to be around, but scary.
Scary, yeah. That was pretty wild. Okay. There's a few people here from New York, not in here today. I don't think anybody's in here today from New York, but there's usually folks in from more like the Finger Lakes area and up in that way. And
yeah, which is where they went.
Which is a lot of that. Yeah. Well, yeah.
They went up and burned the Seneca towns up there in the Finger Lakes. So
the Lake Champlain and there's a big motorcycle event. Not Lake Placid. There's a big motorcycle event. Some of the folks that stream on here on YouTube went up there a while back, and we're looking around. That's when I think of that country. That's usually what I think about. It's all that history. That's kind of like crossing the Ohio River. To me, that's a kind of an emotional thing to cross the Ohio, because if you're a history buff, especially if you're an American history buff, you know what an important role that played in our history. Most of the big rivers, but the Ohio had the
dark and bloody.
It was dark and bloody. Plus, I mean, it just brought a lot of people down. No wonder the Shawnee were fighting them. Think about it.
Yep.
To them, that must have looked like Interstate 40 going through Knoxville.
Them big flat boats were semi trucks.
yeah, exactly.
I get aggravated at them on Highway 30 here by the house.
John says his father's side have been in the Catskills since 1600, Dutch settlers. That's interesting, John.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I just read a story, and it's a fictional narrative with history pumped into it. But one of the things the guy talked about, he was pretty he did a lot of research on his stories. He seemed to have tied in a lot of truth. So I kind of like the stories, but this one was about the end of the Revolution. But he was talking about the Dutch settlers in parts of New York and how superstitious some of them were even then. And this one guy was talking that was trying to work with some of them, technically as a spy, but near in this case it was closer to West Point. But anyway, he was talking about, you always heard these stories about. Or growing up, I heard these stories about thunderstorms, and somebody was playing 10 pins or 9 pins or whatever in the clouds or in heaven or wherever, making the thunder and all that noise. And well, the Dutch had a lot of those kind of superstitions, and they believed a lot of that stuff. The wind came up on the Hudson River and started blowing things around. They battened down the hatches, not so much just because it might be bad weather, but they knew something was out to get them. They were just really, really had a lot of haunts and haints up in the hills, I guess. You got company, or was that you?
Oh, I was just petting a dog.
Oh.
Sorry.
Are you there by yourself today? I thought I heard a knock at the door.
My wife's here, but she's getting ready. I think she's getting ready to go to town.
Going to town. She still got a house full of grandkids?
No, they went. We had grandbabies yesterday. They went home, and they got some kind of craft fair or something in town today. They're going to. So.
Well, that'll be fun. I was trying to figure out. I was looking at your picture. I sent it to Brendan. I got to looking at it. I blew it up a little bit. I was trying to figure out how many horses could I see in that picture, and I see 2. I think
the one that was where it was snowing.
Yeah.
There was just 2 at the haystack, and it was snowing so hard I about couldn't see them. So I thought it was a cool picture.
It was. The first one I saw pretty easily, but the second one was
kind of blended in.
Yeah, it really blended. Have you ever seen any of? Oh gosh, I don't think of her name. Brenda, if you're still on here, help me out.
Bev Doolittle.
Bev Doolittle. Have you ever seen some of her art?
Oh yeah.
God, she's good at that.
Me and my partner rode up on some elk hunters one day checking licenses, and we were on black and white paint horses, and we were it was brand new snow, and we were in a stand of aspens, and we rode up on these guys and stood there for probably 10 minutes before they even noticed we were there. And one of them finally said, "You guys are just like a Bev Doolittle painting."
Yep, you blend in. I said, Earl says her great, maybe more greats found in Maryland and Pennsylvania. Well, that's cool, Pearl. That means they got here pretty early too. If any of my ancestry traces down to actually being Melungeon, that could mean that I had ancestors that were actually here in the 1500s from Europe. I mean, not just the native, but like your Native American ancestry would probably date you way back further than that. But for European trash, then early in 1500s was still pretty early. At least, especially to be in the interior of the country. But there's a lot of things in this part of the country that for many years, nobody could really figure out where they came from or why. It's kind of like the Swiss cheese head here this morning. The Mandans on the Missouri, they auburn hair and blue eyes, they obviously had an influence from somewhere. But I think I'm right about that.
Yes, sir.
You correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
there's a stone fort. They call it the old stone fort down in that's southwest of Knoxville here, ways more towards the plateau. Maybe it's Manchester, Tennessee. Anyway, that's been there for a long time, and they weren't really sure who built that. There's stories and Native American legends or stories about it that say white people built it, but they didn't know any white people had been here at that time. but they very well could have been Portuguese and folks that came off of ships that were here before everybody else was. So it's quite possible.
Well, the native people were pretty handy at stonework as well.
Not true, especially the early ones.
And especially in your part of the country and south, they, all those Mississippian people that they built some pretty impressive structures.
I've got some folks up that way too, Pearl, but I don't know how far back yet they go. I know everybody probably can do this. Brenda's traced back some folks. There's some people with my family name somewhere back through there and hers too, I think, that came over on the Mayflower supposedly, or at least were here early in that time frame. And then there's a couple of places. There's a place in Pennsylvania. I probably mentioned this. I believe it's called Light Fort or Fort Light. Fort Light was a stone trading post / blockhouse that was built in Pennsylvania, around Lebanon, Pennsylvania. That was an early what? Oh, I thought Brenda hollered. Somebody hollered at me. It's kind of cool. I think I've told you about that before. It had like a safe room underneath and had 2 cave entrances to it. And the tunnels to the caves that they went to were like a half mile long. So they were way off from the fort, so people could come in from out or the surrounding cabins and farms and could come through the tunnels to get into the fort and stay somewhat safe. Apparently nobody ever found the natives or the bandits or whoever they were hiding from never figured that out, apparently. So that was kind of cool, and that's still there, but those tunnels have been blocked off now. Now they use that room for last thing I read was that room had been used for like a tasting room or a brewery or something, but the building's still there. It's a historic site in Pennsylvania. Oh, you did, Pearl. I didn't know you'd been in the tombstone business. That's an interesting trade. Was that granite or marble or what did they call that? According to my geology doctor friend, any stone that can be polished, hard stone like that can be polished, is considered marble. I didn't know that, but it's all some kind of granite or something. Basalt. I don't know if it's basalt, but you still see a lot of that around here. Businesses. The new lick around here has been lately. I've just seen this in some cemeteries. Is stones that have somehow been turned black. It's like they dye them or something. I don't know how they do. It's not paint. I don't know what they put on them, and then they carve them and put the color, the relief areas and stuff, different colors. I'm sure that costs a lot extra for those kind of stones. Sandblast the info. Well, that makes sense. I told you about that one I found up on the hill that was drilled and handmade looking, but it was a nice stone. It was a piece of marble. There's marble. There's some marble quarries in this area, not far east Knoxville. That one of them's I think one of them is a pink marble that doesn't come from very many places around here. It was kind of known for that. And they still do some of that up there. And then I think there's also a place down south of here that did marble. Oh, okay, Pearl. I didn't know it was a lithochrome process. Something went real quiet. Did you mute your computer? There
I'm
it
back.
is. I thought you got quiet. I thought maybe something had cut out.
I was talking to my wife.
Well, tell her to say hi. Tell her I said,
Did
hi.
you hear?
Hi.
I thought
She
you'd at least stick your
she-
head in.
She ain't gonna be on camera.
She reminds me of somebody else I know.
If you're expecting that, it ain't gonna happen.
Well, you can always hope. Did you watch the rodeo last night?
We did.
I'm getting aggravated. I'm gonna write. I gotta write some letters. It's getting ridiculous. It made me mad. They made me mad last night when they made Corey or whoever it was. They made him get another calf, Kiev, because that his wouldn't get up.
Right.
And then he got a bad Kiev. It wouldn't do the right thing, and he still had a bad run. That was bullshit. Pardon me. They're not. They don't need to be in that big a hurry.
They keep saying that it's the best one there's ever been, and I disagree. But anyway.
Well, there might be a lot of people out there this year and that kind of thing, but they something's going on with the rules because I don't remember them ever doing some of the things they've done this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the rides I won't even go there, but there's been some re-rides I didn't think they should have been. There's been,
me too.
It's almost like they ran enough bulls under Stetson the other night to make sure he won. But
exactly.
I shouldn't say that. So I didn't really say that. I just thought it out loud.
But it was better than a guy with 52 points winning it. So.
Good point. Lord knows we wouldn't want him to get all that money.
Because he would have won a bunch of money with 52 points.
Now, he still won a bunch of money because only him and Stetson had a ride, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't get first place. But I guess they still split the money, didn't they?
Yeah, he made $88,000 for a 52-point ride. My buddy, the bull rider, said, "I wish I could have done that."
I bet he did.
He said he could have still ridden that bull for.
Well, for 52 points, yeah, probably. I mean, it wasn't much punking, but I don't know. There's been some things this year that I just don't remember. And there's not. I mean, if it was just me complaining, it'd be different. But there's other people complaining too. Flint hadn't held back all week about some of that stuff. He's been.
I was aggravated at that Pope kid laughing at the buzzard getting bucked off and his back broken.
Yeah, well, that's different. I mean,
I'm sure he was just laughing because an old bronc rider got pounded by an arena horse. But yeah, it was.
Oops. Let me catch up here, man. I may have gotten behind.
Well, we switched subjects entirely from stonework to.
Well, I'm known for that, so it just sort of happens. Squirrel.
Yep.
But I had an opportunity to talk rodeo, so I told everybody when I first started this morning that this was rodeo week. So I had one person in here who knew what I was talking about. I said this is like my Super Bowl week. I said every year there's something goes on this time of year that I always watch, and somebody knew it was rodeo, so I had to give them extra points. I should send them something, but I asked her if she'd like to have a small moonshine jar full of Tylenol, but she didn't seem too excited. But it has been it's been a good show, but they've cut things, they've clipped things in places where it didn't make much sense to me, and they always seem like they've got plenty of time to get finished, and yet they're rushing things this year that I don't feel like need to be rushed quite as much. I'm not a TV producer, but I am a viewer, huh?
Some of the people that are, part of it are pretty aggravated with how it's going.
Yeah, they are. That's what I mean.
That guys that like Stetson's rides, he's riding last almost every time the bull riding, and people have already gone home. by the time.
Yeah, that's dumb too. That doesn't make any sense at all. They've done that at least twice now.
So
Well,
anyway,
one of the other kids that came on and won and a reride didn't get seen because everybody had gone home. I can't remember who that was. It was earlier in the week. He got a reride and he came out, and by the time they got a bull in, well, no, maybe that was Stetson I'm thinking about. It was really late, but I mean that's happened a couple of times now. I don't see any need in that. It seems like they could run a bull in there quicker than that. And what's wrong with letting the fans sit out there for 10 more minutes and wait on it instead of telling them all to get up and leave?
Right.
Whoops.
Well, we just had I don't know if you heard that or not. A bird really hit the window hard.
I heard that one. That sounded like a big bird.
I think it was a magpie.
Oh my.
They're down there robbing on my feed quick as they can.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's cold. I forgive them on cold days.
Oh, okay. But too bad if they hit the window.
Yeah, he made it. He flew off. So.
Oh, did he? Okay. Mom and Dad used to have a picture window in their house, and birds used to fly into it fairly regular. Maybe not as regular as yours, but fairly regular. That's at least the second time I've heard one hit your window.
Yeah, if the little English sparrows hit the window, I don't worry too much about them. But the native birds, I worry about them.
Yeah, well, I get that. Three seagulls in a rowboat. I take it that means you're getting lots of rain, Pearl. She's in Washington State, so she said they were having what she call it, warm snow or something a while ago. So I think most of their snow where she's at is warm because it's on that side of the mountains.
We don't get warm snow.
Do what?
We don't get warm snow.
No, you guys get the cold stuff. What's the temperature supposed to be today up there?
I don't know. It'll probably get up in the 20s.
When did you tell me it's supposed to be like minus 11?
When was that, wife?
What?
Last night before last. It was
Yeah.
cold because of the wind chill.
Oh, okay. Still cold.
Yeah, minus 11's cold regardless. Whether it's real or wind caused, it's still cold.
It's still cold. That's right. Somebody used to tell me that if you looked at a wind chill chart, it only went down to a certain level. And they said, so it must not get any colder after that. And I was thinking, no, I think they just probably quit writing it down.
Yeah.
Because I believe you're wrong about that. Pearl says we're in the mid 40s.
We've had
They're in a 7-hour day.
Oh my.
And
Yeah, that's measurable.
Wait a minute, Pearl. That's too many hours. But it probably seems that way.
Yeah, back in
Yes, you will, Pearl.
16, 17 winter, we had 50 below real temperatures for about a week, maybe two.
Ooh.
We were colder than north of the Arctic Circle for about 2 weeks, and I'm like, that's just not right.
A little chilly. Were you in Tennessee the year it got? I don't know if you would have been or not, though. It was down around 20 below for a couple weeks or so.
I don't remember. What year was that?
Well, I was trying to think. I was still in high school, so you might not have been there then.
No, I would have been in another part of the country where it was 20 below.
You might have been in Montana then.
We were in Montana then, I think.
Mark is was born in Tennessee, so we get to claim him. But he lived in Navy or Marine Corps towns and for a while, and then Montana for a while, and Ohio several times, and now back out west. I don't miss
It's Dad's fault. He took me out here and showed it to me. It's his fault.
Well, yeah, it's true. Can't blame anybody but himself.
Surf bums digging out in sites at Sydney, Nebraska. That's a cold place.
Wow, 5 hours he dug out.
Yep. It'll drift you in fast.
I'd say just getting that silo and just stay put for a while. It might all be on your head, but at least you're not having to worry about it too much. I tell you Phil's story about his snowblower. Phil first moved here, about 95 or so. Maybe a little after that this happened. Anyway, we got a pretty good snow for a change.
He bought a snowblower.
His mom bought him one because she was worried about him shoveling snow. It hadn't snowed since. At least nothing that would accumulate enough that he needed to get it out. I gave him shit about it. I said, you get your blower out and run it. I think he starts it up every year, make sure everything's in working order, but he's never just to keep it running, but he's never really needed it.
Huh.
Well, a lot of people out west carried shovels and rakes and buckets. Do you still do that?
Oh, yeah. Hay forks, whatever happens to be in the bed of the truck. Fishing gear and firearms.
Survival stuff.
Yeah.
You never know when you might need to pop a head off a grouse or catch a trout.
Exactly.
But you guys have catfish too, though, don't you? Or is that all implants?
They're all imports.
So nothing really out there but trout and grayling, that sort of thing.
Yeah, even those. I mean, we only have one native species of trout, and we have lots of other kinds, but only one of them's native here.
Which one's native there?
Cutthroats.
I thought rainbows might be too. I didn't know.
No, we got lots of rainbows. I catch. We eat a lot of rainbows, but they're not native.
Well, everybody's got a lot of rainbows now. I don't
We
know if
got
they're native anywhere.
brook trout, and brookies, and lake trout, and
You got brookies out there?
yeah, and they get to be about 6 pounds out here, which is kind of cool.
In the rivers or just in the lakes?
In the lakes mostly. But yeah, I mean, the little ones we grew up catching that are native were about 8 inches long.
Yeah.
That you put them in a nice water in the west and they get giant.
That's kind of cool.
The dogs are back. You quit aggravating me.
Hey, dogs. I can't whistle.
Hank.
Hey, Hank.
I don't know if you can see him or not.
I saw his nose.
There's my Vizsla. There he is.
There's Hank. What's the Vizsla's name?
Gigi.
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 Yep.
Does she hunt?
She does. She's not the best hunting dog I've owned, but she's an okay bird dog.
Are they they're pointers, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Don't call me sir. You make me feel old, and your beard's as gray as mine is.
No, look.
What's surf bum? He says.
He fished at the Vitavoo catching brookies. Yep.
Kirk Gowdy Park. I can remember Kirk Gowdy fishing on its American Sportsman when I was growing up, and they showed that show, and he was always fly fishing up there somewhere. You should love his voice.
That was his country.
Yeah. Was he a cowboy too?
Oh yeah.
I was thinking he was.
It's kind of like if you grow up in this state, rural, you're going to work cows at some point.
Well, true. I guess that
I mean, it's kind of like putting up hay or cutting tobacco where we grew up.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that made us farm hands. I did plenty of that. I didn't mind that too bad. Hay, two things about hay that used to get to me. One was, and this was my fault, I did it one time in shorts and no shirt, and damn was that a mistake. Talk about eat up. I got in the shower that night and screamed because I was scratched up from head to toe by that damn.
All them little hay seeds cut you
up. And then up in the loft, stacking hay. Sometimes it would just get so dusty up there. I mean, you just blow hay boogers for days. I mean, it would just be your head would be. I saw her. She just went behind you. I'm quick like that. Don't move that camera.
You got a picture of Bigfoot, buddy.
It was just a glimpse. So.
She's gonna beat the crap out of me when we're done.
She yelling?
She's yelling something at me.
I said there's 2 doors into this room.
Oh, you're gonna have to go out the back one then, babe.
Uh-oh. She can't get out the front door.
She won't come out this door no more because
I can't see her now. You moved the camera.
I know. I had to set my camera down the wrong place.
Hey, Kelly, you're back. And Dawn, I know, but I was young and stupid back then. I didn't think about it that day. It never happened again. I can guarantee you that. That day caught me kind of by surprise. I didn't know I was going to be working hay that day. And I was probably out on my bicycle or something, and they hollered, want to know if I could help them load some hay, and I did, and I regretted it. Trust me, I regretted it. I would eat up, but I never did that mistake again. I didn't mind it so bad if it's just my arms. We didn't work in long sleeve shirts much back then, or us kids didn't, but I damn sure never had on short pants again. And because, you have those hay bales are, I mean, especially when you're that size, I mean, you got to put them on your legs to hoist them up and kick them up or whatever. And your tops of your thighs, your legs just get chewed up. Yes, I was a quick study. That was the one and only time I ever made that mistake, Dawn. I can promise you that. It was, it wasn't something you'd forget because once you hit that shower water, it was Katie bar the door. It was all over by that point. I didn't really pay much attention to it until I got in the shower. That guy's one of the few places I ever worked hay where we had a belt or whatever they called it to get the hay up into the barn loft instead of having to just tote and carry it up there. Most of the time I hauled hay from the trailer up. We threw it up on the loft. If we put it in the barn, and of course nowadays they don't put anything in the barn, but that guy had a conveyor or whatever. I don't know what they might have called it something else, but
hay elevator.
Hay elevator, okay. And I don't know if we ever called it anything that fancy, but anyway, it brought the hay up pretty quick. So we had to, once that stuff started coming up, the guys down on the trailer were, by God, going to make sure we got it fast because partly because they knew they could. But I made a few dollars doing that, and then working tobacco was. I didn't mind hanging tobacco so much. I hated suckering tobacco. topping it and suckering it was just the nastiest, stickiest.
You're talking foreign. There ain't nobody around hardly anymore that's worked at tobacco.
Well, I know they're not, but good morning, Michelle. Did Garrett kick you out of bed and tell you to get online this morning? I heard him tell her yesterday. She said, you need to get up and get on Tim's show in the morning. And why would he be shaking his head, Don? He doesn't work hay. He worked hay too, or tobacco, which I tell you what I didn't like. The suckering tobacco and then topping it was so sticky. And by the time you walked out of the tobacco patch that night, your hair would be sticking up like this, like you'd stuck your finger in a light socket. And it would just be like somebody had moosed it. You could have made one of them giant mohawks easy, because I've never been so gummed up and sticky in my life as coming out of the tobacco field. But cutting it and spearing it and then putting it in the barn, I didn't mind that. I actually kind of liked hanging it in the barn, except when the bees were when it was real waspy. But I liked it. I liked to get in the top of the barn. Like I said before, to me that was the best place to be, because you didn't have to handle near as much tobacco.
Well, and you did it, if you were suckering or topping, you had those little pack saddle worms hanging underneath the leaves too, that would set you on fire.
Oh, I hate those things. I used to get into those in the garden walking through the corn patch too. They were real bad about hiding under corn leaves. Man, those things sting. Woo. Well, Jeff understands then, Don. He's been in the hayfield. He gets it. Because nowadays they just roll out hay and then hit a big truck under, or take a tractor to it and move it around. And it's too big to work by hand. So they took a lot of poor young men don't have jobs today because of that mechanization. Some of them are probably mighty glad of it too. They still do a fair bit of. There's some small square bales still down here. I would say a lot, but I don't know about a lot. I see it back here because it's so wet. I see a lot of wasted hay back here because people roll it up and then put it out in the fields and it rots. They don't. My grandpa would have busted somebody's ass for leaving this hay out in the field, or letting it go bad like that, because they just didn't do that. They put it in the barn. It stayed good for a while, but I see a lot of it go to waste. Baling hay, yes, ma'am. She has no idea what we're talking about. Well, Michelle, maybe we need to have a study here, lessons here in growing up as a country kid, because that's kind of what we did. Yeah, big round bales, but up where Mark's at, they do use a lot of big square bales, big giant things, not like we did, little square bales, weigh 70 to 100 pounds. Yours probably weigh several hundred pounds, don't they?
Yeah, almost. You can get them up to a ton.
Wow.
Ours are probably, mine are probably half tons.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, yeah, about 1,000.
And then because it's so dry here, we can just stack stuff outside.
And it lasts forever.
And the horses are still eating hay from last year that were stacked outside. So
you even cover them up or anything?
No, don't have to do nothing.
See, back here it rains so much, if you don't cover them, then they rot even faster. But even when you cover them, they usually rot because they get wet from beneath. He's talking to his wife again. Country kid, #hillbilly. You're right, Don. That's exactly right.
I'm back.
I was waving bye to your wife, not to you.
Oh, yeah, she's heading out to throw some food to the chickens, and then she's off to town. So
what's those large square bales, less weight? I've seen those large square bales, less waste. I don't know. Is that what's the real? Is there a benefit to square versus round out there? I mean, I see a lot of square bales out there, but not back here much.
Well, the square bales still flake. You can still flake a chunk of hay off, and you use
That
them
makes
all.
sense.
And those round bales, they just tend to either scatter them. Most of the guys are running hay for their cattle still use round bales.
Oh, okay.
And then they just feed them off of a tractor.
Yeah.
And scatter it out there, and the cattle eat it. And otherwise they get rotten in the middle.
Is there a story behind that fiddle hanging on your wall? I meant to ask you earlier. I saw several people ask about it.
The fiddle?
Yeah.
It was my wife's grandfather built that fiddle.
Does anybody there play it?
Well, none of us can. She can play the piano, but the fiddle's never, since he's gone, nobody's ever played it that I'm aware of.
Devil's instrument, that is.
That's a pretty cool piece of woodworking, though.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to play a fiddle.
Me too.
But my buddy Steve Cottrell plays, and that's what he said. He said, that's the devil's instrument. I said, well, you play it? And he said, that's what I mean. Apparently it's got something to do with keeping your hands busy a lot, or maybe it's because it keeps your hands busy playing it instead of doing, godly work or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're messing around.
So we're now a little background, Mark. Michelle, Monarch Moments, Michelle is in the chat. She and I got to talking one time. We've never met, but she went to the same school in Florida that I went to learn to work on airplanes.
Embry-Riddle?
Embry-Riddle. She was there, I think, as an engineering student, and but we have that in common. But I don't know where she grew up, but she wouldn't know about hay baling. Now she's in California now, but I don't think that's where she was from. Correct me, Michelle. That's because the devil went down to Georgia. Well, that's true. That's true. He went down there, and after he run through what's his name, Johnson, and learned him how to play the guitar, he went to Georgia and challenged Charlie Daniels to a fiddling contest. No, I did not, Michelle. What's going on at Riddle? She says there was a story about it yesterday. I don't think I did, but did I? Not yesterday. I was thinking I'd heard something not too long ago about a plane crash, but that might have been something else altogether. When I was going to school there, you could learn how to work on them, or you could learn how to fly them, and they were just starting to do a lot of other stuff. Now they're a big university, or they seem to be a much bigger university. And they teach a lot of aeronautical engineering and that sort of stuff. They've been around for a long time. They started out training in Cubs and doing that kind of stuff. I'm from upstate New York, corn country. No, I did not hear that, Michelle. I'll have to look into that. Wow. That's interesting. I like the use of thwarted. That's good. You throw that in my conversations, you've upped the IQ of this whole chat by 10 points at least. Well, I'm glad that's a whole nother topic, but I'm glad they stopped it before it happened. I don't know what the answer to that is. I hear her again.
She's
there she is. Good morning, Miss Shauna. Hi.
Hi. Glad you're all okay.
Yeah, we're okay. You going out in the snow? Well, Mark said you didn't have any snow.
Oh, we probably got an inch or two, depending on where the drift is. Maybe.
The drift. We don't have the drift much
Yeah,
here.
most of the snow left and went to Nebraska yesterday.
That's nice of you guys to donate it over to them.
Well, we got a saying out here, but I won't say it on the air.
You'll have to tell me later.
Something about push me, pull you, kind of.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll look at that. That's
Well, it's good they thwarted him.
yeah. Shoot, just think how much better it'd been if they'd actually caught him and stopped him. No laugh, no chuckle. That just went over like a dead balloon. You hear what I said? Yes, it's good they thwarted him.
You never have been right in the head.
I haven't. I've never been much righter. I'm more right with you than I am with just about anybody, buddy. That may not be same. Some people might not understand that, but my mama always said I was born 200 years too late anyway, and I finally found somebody else that fit. So
yeah,
we must have run together at some point. We had to. That's the only thing that makes any sense.
Don't have any skills that are useful in today's society.
Now, I mean,
We'd have been okay a long time ago.
take up a decent trade, learn beaver trapping.
Exactly.
Oregon, won't nothing grow in Oregon. Take up a decent trade, learn trapping. I was reading more about Mark and I've had a go ahead.
You're poor participants. That's all.
Those are quotes from a movie called The Mountain Men. It came out many years ago in the late 70s, I guess. Had Charlton Heston in it and Brian Keith and a whole bunch of other people that, one or two other people anyway that you've heard of. I can't remember right now. About the same time, it came out a little bit after Jeremiah Johnson movie came out, I think. Probably more realistic in many ways. Okay, thank you, Pearl. I'll listen to that in a little bit. Oh, well, that's bad, Michelle. That's that's bad. That would have been bad. That's what you call, that's laying a trap there. That's sad. I don't know what to make of that sometimes. I don't know what to make of this sometimes. It's such a conundrum for me. I said last week, behind those Friends with Fun with Flags banner there's a gun safe, and I do have guns, and I've hunted most of my life, or used to when I could, and had a good hunting partner. But I do that. I did that a lot with bows towards the end. I didn't even carry guns, but that's not the point. I never had a desire to take the gun to school and shoot my fellow classmates.
We did take guns to school when we were in school.
You did, because you told me you got to leave them in the principal's office.
Just took them to Principal McKinney and let him keep it in the office, and I'd hunt my way home. And then every pickup in the parking lot had a
Well, yeah, that's probably true. You're probably right about that part.
But we didn't feel the need to kill each other with them.
Well, we didn't even pay attention to it, to be honest. I will admit, I will confess to this. I have a good friend of mine that came to school one day, and I was in the 8th grade, and he had a German Luger in his backpack, Yeah, we actually carried backpacks then. I didn't. Didn't bring it to shoot anybody. He brought it to show us. But now that I think back on that historically, today they would have thrown him under the jail. I mean, he really didn't bring it to. I don't know if it was loaded or not, but he brought it to show us because it was something. I don't know if it was a German war Luger, if it was something just been bought afterwards, but it was the first German Luger I ever saw.
And we all had at least one pocket knife, at least one.
At least one pocket knife every day. I always carried a pocket knife, and I'm pretty sure you can't even get through the doors today with a pocket knife.
No.
Both my girls had pocket knives as soon as they were old enough to have one, and we had to make sure every day they didn't take them to school because we didn't want them to get. But I didn't want them to get sent home because they had a pocket. I would have been mad. I'd have been down there. I promise you that. Not only that, but they would have lost a good pocket knife, and that would have really pissed me off. Jeff usually had at least 3 guns in his car when he went to high school, as did most of his classmates. Different time. It was a different time. Yep. It wasn't unusual to see a 22 hanging on in the back window of a truck or a shotgun. And like Mark said, he'd go squirrel hunting or something on his way home from school, and the principal actually kept his rifle. It could have been a shotgun. As long as it was
that little crack shot. I could take.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Hey, I figured out something. Oh, I got to check that today too. My shotgun bids are over. It's over today. I got to check that in a little bit. I figured out why those shotguns were made that way. I didn't think about that. Those shotguns folded.
Oh, yeah.
That's why that pivot point, I didn't realize that. That's why that pivot point's below the receiver area, because you could fold it completely over. I found an article where they call those the poacher's friend or the poacher companion. And it was because they could fold them up and, I guess, sneak them onto the landlord's property.
Yeah.
I remember driving through Texas when I moved to California, and all the trucks, shotguns in the back windows. Yep, they sure did.
Still do.
Mickey Kelly says when we were young kids, didn't want to kill their classmates in my high school. Boys who drove trucks with display rifles in the back window, and that's what they did back here too. And a lot of them actually took them out and went hunting on the way home, or sometimes. I mean, some of them didn't use them all the time, but they were there for squirrels and maybe an occasional dove or something. But Sean is still packing. Where are you going, Dawn? I missed that. Gunner. Oh, she's still packing. I get it. Most guys at least had pocket knives in school, and some of the girls did. But like I said, started sneaking me pocket knives. Oh, did I say sneaking? Giving me pocket knives when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I think Mama probably put most of them up somewhere because I'd set them on the TV at night and go to bed, and then some mornings they wouldn't be there. Pretty sure she probably got them. I used to think I'd lost them for a long time, but I don't think I lost them. That may be why it bothers me so much today if I do lose one, misplaced one. That drives me crazy.
There's a secret drawer in your mama's house, Tim, that's got 111 pocket knives in it.
You might be right. And the first ones I remember having was I call them the fish knife. They were long. I don't know what their actual name is. Maybe they were fish knives back then, but they're long and, they were folding knives, slip joints, but they were just kind of long and curved and had a skinny blade. And then I had a couple of old timers that somebody gave me. And I tell you what I carried in high school most of the time was a Camillus, what the military people call a TL-39, which was a utility knife. It had a work blade and then a screwdriver blade, and that's what they used to issue electricians and stuff in the military to use as a work knife. Because I met several people years later that said, "Oh, I had one of those knives in the Air Force, or I had one of those knives in the Army." I said, "What did they give it to you for?" And he said, "Well, it was That was the knife you used to strip wire or to screw things together or whatever you needed. I looked them up. They actually are called a TL39. I've still got one here somewhere if I could find it. That's one of my missing treasures. I carried that knife for a long time. I told you about the one. My uncles gave me my first pocket knives, and because that's what they would do, you know. Same uncle bought me my first pair of boots and a jean jacket one time. I was proud of those boots, and my brother burned the jacket. That's another story. But what was I getting ready to say about the knife? Oh,
Do
yes.
hunting?
No, well, it had to do with knives. One of my uncles, though, it was kind of, I mean, he was kind of one of my, when I was growing up and a little kid, he scared the hell out of me. He was such a big man. My mom was a 5'2" runt. I mean, she was the little one of the family because her brothers were all 6 feet plus. And 2 or 3 of them were built like blacksmiths. I mean, they were big old burly guys. They were, you know, I mean, not fat guys. I mean, just big old strong, looked like they were lumberjacks or something. And my Uncle Jack was, he's one of the ones that used to tell me all the stories, and which I took for gospel back then. But anyway, when he passed away, I had a pocket knife. I had a Gerber pocket knife that my mother-in-law actually had given me, or maybe she gave me the money and I went up to Mahoney's in Johnson City and bought. And it was the first Gerber knife I ever had. And it was wooden, had wooden scales on it, brass bolster, and then wooden scales. And then, of course, a single lock back blade. And I carried that in my pocket for 18 years and kept it and wore the wood plumb off the scales. I mean, I was down to the bare metal on both sides, on the ends. And I mean, it had served me well. And when my uncle died, I went to his casket and put that knife in his pocket and put it in the casket. And I told Brenda and everybody, people asked me what I did. I said, well, he gave me my first pocket knife, so I want to make sure I gave him his last one. And so it's buried in Churchill, Tennessee, and in his casket. But it was a good trade. I mean, it was a good knife, but he was a good uncle. So, you know, you have to do what you have to do, man. People need stuff to take with them, you know. I keep wanting Brenda to put my longbow and my knives and that kind of stuff up in the tree with me, but I don't know if she's going to be able to put me up in the tree. They frown on that around here. Hey, you know what? I don't mean to be morbid, but there's a place not far from here actually that does natural burials. And you can go up there and, you know, they'll put you in the ground in a pine box or wrapped up in a burlap bag if that's what you want. I don't know if they'll put you in a tree or a funeral pyre. That would be interesting.
I told my wife to just like haul me out in the desert and dump me, cave a bank in over me and let the coyotes and magpies have me.
Well, that's pretty much the same. Lou, wait a minute. Say that again now.
I just want the magpies to get me.
Yeah, but what was the first part? Where are they going to put you? Just on the ground, or
just take me out in the desert and find some high bank and cave the dirt in over me?
Oh, okay. Well, that would work too. Yeah.
Maybe I could become a fossil that way.
Good thought. Well, since we've migrated back to the morbid, let's talk about something else. You missed the first part of the show, Mark. Let me run through it real quick. Let me show you just a few things real quick. At least I'm going to try to, if I can.
Oh, I saw this. I was trying to get on when.
Oh, did you see the Stones?
The Stones, yeah, I saw those.
Well, if you had been here, and then since you are, I was going to. Mark lives in an interesting part of the country, as we've already discussed. I have a lot of unpopular opinions too, and I really don't like what Disney has done to Star Wars there. I said it. Okay. I think they need to go do away with grades. Okay, I got that. Sometimes I don't disagree, Pearl. I mean, I'm catching up again. Oh, we're talking about participation trophies. That's what Kelly Mickey Bunch was talking about. Yeah, I think it's great to congratulate kids and talk to them about being good winners or good losers. Giving them all trophies pretty much defeats the purpose of competition. I mean, let's be honest. Anyway, don't mean to go back to the Mormon, but Mark lives in an interesting place, as we discussed earlier. They can leave their hay out in the fields, and it just lasts nearly forever. Same thing goes for graves and not bodies necessarily, but and Mark has told me we've talked about that. I've been reading the book about the Oregon Trail, and how many people died along the Oregon Trail traveling to California and Oregon, and
Salt Lake.
Yeah, so I don't count those though. That's different. They had other guidance.
There were a bunch of them, same trail.
Well, true. That's true. That's up to some point where they.
Right here by my house is where they took off and went south.
That's where the Mormon Trail starts, or whatever.
Yep.
I said it. I went ahead and said it. Anyway, he's found grave sites out along what would have been the old Oregon Trail, which is kind of misleading. If I never really thought about this until I started reading this book, but the Oregon Trail is this thing that if you studied history much, you can envision as two ruts across the plains, which in some places it is, but in a lot of places they fanned out. So the Oregon Trail might be 30 miles wide. I mean, they spread out all over the bottomlands when they could, and for better graze, to find water, to be away from other groups that spread cholera. I mean, all kinds of reasons. But so people weren't just buried along the trail, although some of them were literally buried in the trail, and some of them were buried alongside the trail. But there's a lot of graves out in the middle of places where people probably still haven't found them to this day. And Mark has found a few of those over the years, have you not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I find quite interesting. I mean, I talk about
a half a dozen, probably.
Do what?
About a half a dozen that the BLM didn't have on their database of known human burials. But yeah, I found several.
That's I used to find. I've talked about this earlier, and I've talked about it before. But I used to find occasionally doing my work back east, you'd walk up on one and find a grave, usually a graveyard, where several people. Because back here it was not uncommon. I guess out there either, for that matter, once settlements came in. But back here, lots of people. If you had any land at all, most people were buried on their property. They had a plot set aside for a graveyard. Lots of families had graveyards, and somebody in there was talking about being part of I guess it was Pearl, and talked about being part of the Hatfields and McCoys. I've told this story, I think, but I met some of the McCoys family a few years back up on Norris, and they were looking for a family cemetery, and it was one that had been kept open and active and had all kinds of deeded rights so they could continue to bury there. And those guys were pretty direct descendants from the original McCoys that were famous from the feud. And one of them was sick and wanted to be buried there, so he was eventually. But I found some single grave sites up that tree stump Woodman marker that we found up in that one site was, as far as I know, a single grave. I found one up on a hillside one time. It was a flat piece of marble they drilled out by hand and created a stone and drilled all the writing in it. That was pretty elaborate for what most of them had, because a lot of times it's just a rock, and it might be stuck in the ground vertically, or it might just be laying on the ground, or it may be broken too now. And anyway, it always kind of fascinated me just to find them. And then to read about them, and you talk about finding sites out there that are just there, and chances are they may not have ever been marked before or located. I mean, so many people died on those treks across the country. It's unbelievable, the numbers. I read something, I believe the other day, it was I don't remember the numbers. I started to say 25,000 a year, but that's probably too many. but maybe it was 25,000 over a number of years that died along the trail. A lot of them from cholera, some from conflict, but a lot of times it was disease. Just like most major wars that were fought back then, was most of it was disease. They're
Well,
talking
these are all just unmarked graves with stone piles over them to keep the varmints from digging you up, I guess. But
an attempt to anyway.
None of them had. I mean, they might have had a wooden marker at one time that's gone, but
yeah, and that's probably, if they had anything, that's probably what. Some of them didn't mark them on purpose because they didn't want anybody to find them. And according to this book, and this guy was interviewing people, there's been several people over the years that have worked the trail area looking for graves to mark them and to record them and whatnot. And they were saying that a lot of times these trains would stop, somebody would die, and they would literally just bury them off the side of the trail, and the ground was so hard that they really couldn't dig that deep into it in a lot of places. And, you know, the root system of those prairie grasses was pretty deep back then. And, you know, they just get them enough ground scratched up to cover them up. And so a lot of the grave sites didn't last very long. They got dug up pretty quick by wolves and probably maybe even a few grizzly bears that were still left. But, you know, they just didn't last. And then if they could, they put them under rocks, but they couldn't always do that either. And it's interesting, sad in some ways, but that's just how things were. Well, that's stunk, Pearl. I'm not trying to avoid your conversation about Ogas. I've never been there yet, so I don't know much about it, but I get what you're saying. I tell you what, you don't know. I'm not trying to start another. I'm not going to get. I'm changing tracks for a minute, but I'm coming back off the siding, so don't go away. I tell you what, you learn once you are, I hate to use this term, but disabled or in that position, you don't realize how damn hard it is for most people that are to get around. Because even though we have a Disabilities Act to help make stuff like that more accessible, it's not very well policed. And that doesn't mean they do very well. I got all over my Kroger store recently because they parked all their scooters, their electric scooters, over in a corner, and they piled them all up so they could put 2 or 3 more racks of potato chips in the front door and get them, you know, so people could see them and grab their salty snacks on the way in. And I've raised hell about that twice. And last time I told them, I said, I think I'm going to write somebody, because I'm pretty sure this is an ADA violation. And I thought, man, I wouldn't have, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have cared, but I do now, because if I need one of those chairs, I can't get in one of them because I can't crawl across 5 of them to get one that's charged up. So anyway, that's a whole nother soapbox. Maybe we'll talk about that some other time. But back to the Oregon Trail, and the bodies. I mean, it's a fascinating bit of history. And what's also amazing about that story is this guy was reading paragraphs from journals and things that people wrote, because back then people used to write stuff down. And they talk about the sheer number of covered wagons on that trail in any given summer, and it's amazing. They talk about looking off a hill and seeing wagons as far as they can see, east and west, you know, some behind, some in front. It just, I never really put it together that there were that many people migrating. Uh-oh, I lost him. Maybe he had a dog-like emergency. Oh, Pearl, don't worry, you're not taking over. Yeah, that's kind of how it is, Pearl. If that's not how it is, that sure as hell how you feel when that happens. And you become, I mean, there's one store I used to go into, and they might have one wheelchair in there, or they might not even have that. I mean, it's just, You notice it when you can't get around good. And then when you're in a chair, half the time you can't reach the stuff you want because it's up too high. But, at least I can usually get out, stand up and get stuff. I don't have to, I'm not completely bumfuzzled, but I can't walk around the store for an hour trying to find things because I can't stay up that long. But I'm getting a little bit better. Well, Colonel, that sucks. No wonder you didn't enjoy that experience. I don't think I would have either. I've noticed how crowded it's been. Most people had to wait to get in. What they're talking about, Mark, is that at Disney World now and Disneyland, they've created a Star Wars area. And one of the things they built into that area is, you remember Olga's Canteen, where the first movie, they were playing the music and the weird creatures were playing and that music, or they recreated those in the place, and they're actually a bar. You can go in and get a treat or a snack or a drink, an adult beverage. But they're small and they're crowded as hell. Of course, everybody wants to go in and be there, or see it. So that's what they're talking about right now. Let me tell you, I gotta chase this squirrel. I know what you mean. I was in a let's just say a home improvement store one day, and I was trying to get into this aisle. I needed a plumbing fixture for the house, and I was trying to find it for Brenda. I don't remember what it was. It might have just been a stopper for the utility room sink, but it was something. And I was trying to get to it, and I was waiting because the aisle was crowded, and I was in a cart, an electric cart, and scooter, whatever. And so I was trying to stay back out of the way and not run over people or make them think I was trying to run over them. And so I was sitting back, and this guy walks into the aisle and walks right past all these people blocking the aisle. I couldn't get, and he looks at me and he says, "Hey, asshole, you can't just sit here and block the whole aisle just because you're crippled." And I said, "Would you like to repeat that again?" I had my cane with me. I would have hit him. And I said, "I'm sorry, sir. Would you like to repeat that again? Because I don't think I much cared for your attitude." and he didn't. He just looked at me and walked on by. But if he'd opened his mouth, I was going to crack him in the shin with my brass handled cane, because that pissed me off to no end. Pardon my language. I mean, I wanted to crack him over the head because, one, I was trying to stay out of everybody's way, and two, he was far more mobile than I was. He could get around, but he just walked right up and said, "Hey, asshole, you can't block the whole line just because you're in a scooter." I mean, maybe he thought I was just riding it around because I was being lazy. I don't know, but he don't know how close he came to getting thwarted right then and there. Well, it's been used in the stream today. I might as well get the use out of it. Thwarted.
That's not the correct use of that.
Well, why not? It could be today. I mean, I was stopping him from committing any further insults upon my person or anybody else's person by inflicting.
I think you meant throttled.
Well, that doesn't sound quite as good. Michelle brought the word into the chat. I was just trying to get a little more use out of it. I promise you, it would have thwarted him from bothering anybody else that evening, because I was going to crack his head. And I would have. I was mad. Brenda caught up with me right after that, and I was fuming still. And I mean, I really wanted to whack that guy. I thought, what a jerk. Wow. Which people are the ones in the chair, or the ones complaining about the people in the chair? I didn't feel like it was my right of way. I was really trying to stay clear of the traffic. I was really trying to let people have plenty of room. And, I
should have run over his foot.
I should have. That would have worked. The people that were standing there turned around and looked like, damn, what'd he do? Because they heard me, and I said it quite seriously, I said, come up here, look me right in the face and tell me that one more time. And he just kept going. What a jerk. He probably would have had me thrown in jail for assault, but I'm telling you something, it would have felt good at that moment. To feel his skull cracking under my brass weighted walking stick.
It's a good thing you don't have a sword cane.
Probably is, because I'd have been ready to cut him, that's for sure. Pearl said I should have run with his foot. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, Pearl said that.
Okay, I do too. I don't like to see people take them that don't need them, and I agree with that. And that's why I hesitate sometimes to get one, even when I can't walk. Most of the time I won't go in a store just because I don't want to have to take up a scooter, if I can even find one. But now I need one, and
I'm going to start making sword canes.
You should. I'm telling you.
There's a market right here.
There is. The time has come again when sword canes could be, back in fashion. They're still out there, but I think they're probably real cheap. I haven't bought one yet. I've got my own blades right here. I've got a couple of nice sword cane size blades, but I just haven't put them together. I've got one I started. Here's my handle. I showed you this. I was going to use this for a handle, a grebe. And I thought that'd make a pretty good handle. It's rounded on top. And here's the thing I thought was cool. If I angle the shaft right, it has its own built-in handguard. See? I find the camera. See, it would protect my fingers. Not that there's going to be anybody else in the store with a sword cane, mind you. But just in case there was. There could be two assholes like me in the store at the same time.
And Pearl wants 4. She's already ordered 4.
Lightsaber cane. Well, that might work. Sword canes used to be fairly popular.
People would leave folks alone if they were packing sword canes.
They would.
If you never knew if it was just a regular cane or a sword cane, you'd leave them alone.
What's Yoda got? Wait a minute. Hitchhiking bones. Yes. Forest 4. Lightsaber cane. Oh. Well, that would be cool. That would be really good. A lightsaber cane. I'd like to have a lightsaber, not a play one. I mean a real one. Those things will cut through just about anything except Velspar or whatever it's called. Vespar. Yeah, you probably haven't ever seen The Mandalorian, have you?
Me?
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Mandalorian. I own most of them. I just don't. I haven't seen.
I don't know if The Mandalorian's come out yet on DVDs or not. It's they're showing it on. It's just been on the Disney Channel.
Oh yeah, I don't get the Disney.
Or not Disney Channel, Disney Plus. And
I do have the Cowboy Channel. I got the Cowboy Channel now, but I don't have Disney.
Well, that's a plus right there. Did you just get the channel on your TV, or did you get the app for your computer? Which one?
On the TV.
Okay. Well, you can see a lot of stuff now then.
Yeah, I'm excited. My wife said she did good.
Yeah, I'd say that was a worthwhile thing right there.
And she gave it to me early so I could watch the NFR, which she has regretted ever since.
Well, that's too bad.
Because it's been 24/7.
Ooh, that's true. Yeah, here's a really great thing about the NFR this year. I will give them credit for this. It comes on at 3:30 in the afternoon. 3:30 in the afternoon, and it runs until 1:30. All new programming, most of it live, some of it recorded, but the rodeo, and then it starts again at 1:30, and it reruns them until 4 or 5 in the morning. So,
And then
and
it
I
runs,
heard
and then
yesterday,
it runs them again.
huh?
And then it runs them again.
And they're going to rerun the whole rodeo starting tomorrow night, Sunday night, I think, on Cowboy
so.
Channel.
I'm gonna have to turn it off the channel. My wife will kill me if we watch rodeo that many days in a row.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have them recorded. I'll probably take a short break, but then I'll watch them again. And there's a good chance that during the week when I'm sitting there doing other things, I'll probably have it on in the background anyway, just because.
Yeah.
I've been recording it for years and then keeping it. Like I told you the other day, I usually keep it and watch them through the year until about November, and then I erase them and get ready for the new series. So for years I wanted to buy. They always used to. I haven't seen this advertised this year. They used to advertise a video recording of the events that you could order after the rodeo was over from PRCA. And I got one once. I wanted one for years. I thought, man, this would be great. No commercials, no nothing. But what I didn't realize was it didn't have a lot of commentary, so it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff was there, but you weren't really getting the details you needed since you weren't there. You didn't know everything was going on. So it turned out I haven't ordered that again. I mean, it wasn't super expensive or anything. I didn't get out of it what I thought I would. So I just keep them recorded on my DVR and watch them all year.
Well, and I don't mean to bore everybody on your show here, but I mean, it's, Flint keeps saying, we're here in Las Vegas and none of you are. They're watching on the Cowboys channel. And I keep wanting to send him a note saying, somebody's got to feed the cows, buddy.
That's right. Well, send him a note. I sent him one the other day, and I won't go into what it was about, but I sent him one the other day. I'm actually thinking about sending him another one because in this case, I really do agree with him about some of the things that have been going on. I mean,
yeah,
it really made me mad last night when they made
entertainment stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, let's be honest, rodeos have always been to a degree. Well, once they became professional, at least they became entertainment. I mean, they started out kind of competition among the cowboys, but it was still, people were still watching. But I mean, now it's big money entertainment. I mean, you know what it costs to get a seat in that arena? It's a lot of money.
It's ridiculous.
And you can't even get a seat, so you're going to pay even more money to get one if you can. Because I've looked at prices for years and realized I'll probably never get to go to the NFR unless I win a contest or something. Well, I'm a John Wayne fan. I don't know if he's my favorite. He probably right up there amongst them. Yeah, he's right up there, definitely in the top 10. I like some early Clint. I mean, Outlaw Josie Wells is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I like to watch him spit, and I like Chief Dan George is in there talking about not eating the rock candy. It's just for looking through. Teaching us ways of the horned toad. It tells you which way to go.
And muskrat ain't no good no more.
Muskrat. What's muskrat? Muskrat ain't no good no more. I'm sorry, guys. We don't mean to bore you, but we're these are things that bring back memories, I guess. The Cowboy Channel has been an interesting evolution of things since it came out. I mean, they show some Western shows. Mostly they show like the Lone Ranger and Roy Rogers, which were two of my favorite shows growing up. They show a lot of what they have done though for Western sports, and it's going to get better because unfortunately they started just about the time COVID hit, which disrupted everything in 2019 and 2020 especially. But a lot of rodeos got canceled. A lot of stuff didn't happen. But their mission was to show live rodeos on TV every week just to promote the Western sports, if you will. And, I'll have to admit, there's never been channels that did that. And so if you were really interested in that kind of thing, you pretty much had to wait for the NFR once a year or watch PBR and watch them do bull riding. and which some of us do,
And
we get our fixes that way, I suppose. But it's not like baseball or football or basketball where you can turn it on just about anywhere. A dozen channels at any given time during the day will have some kind of stick and ball sport or stick or ball sport, and some of that I like, some of that I get tired of. I'm not keen on basketball, and I'm not that crazy about hockey. I like baseball. I like hockey. Not hockey, soccer is what I meant to say. Soccer just never made any sense to me. I can't keep up with it or something. Maybe it's boring. I know that'll bring hate mail, but it's just
when they cut into my PBR time with their European soccer game,
yeah.
that really aggravates me.
Well, yeah, me too. But
because they like cut off an American sport for a non-American sport.
You know what used to really gripe my butt was I never had a desire to go to a rodeo, but the few I did go to were a lot of fun. Oh, so you didn't want to go to them, but you have been to some, Michelle. Well, that's good that you have been. Do love the Mandalorian. So excited about the Book of Fett. Yeah, that's going to be interesting, Pearl. That's Boba Fett's going to get a show on the Disney Plus too, Mark. If you're interested,
All by his lonesome.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I don't know who else.
I mean, just
there'll be some other characters, but
focused on him.
Going to be focused on him. It's going to be kind of about where he came from and how he got to where he was, and the fact that he didn't actually die when he went down that sand trap with that big worm thing.
That'll be cool.
He's already showed up in the Mandalorian. The last couple of episodes of the last year's Mandalorian, he showed up, and come to find out that he got out of that worm. Or whatever it was called. I think what was it from the third movie, wasn't it? The Revenge of the Jedi or Jedi Return or something? I don't know. One of the original three. Anyway. Yeah, he took over Jabba's organization. Oh, okay. Well, Michelle, you should be able to go to rodeos. There's rodeos all over California and not too far from you. I mean, for that matter, Vegas isn't that far, but Vegas pretty much just does. They're kind of a one-show deal. They do NFR for 2 weeks, and then that's kind of it. Yeah,
so I gotta watch The Mandalorian first.
Well, I would if I was going to be able to watch both.
Well, I'm anal that way. I like to start at the beginning.
Yeah, you want to, because it makes more sense.
Which aggravated me a little bit about Star Wars because they didn't start.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't, which was always confusing to a lot of people. Still kind of confusing. Because you're my age and you saw the first three originally in the theaters, you think that's 1, 2, 3, but it's not.
Yep. Turns
out that's 4, 5, and 6, and that doesn't make sense. But anyway. Well, guys, it's almost 12. Oh, Jesus, it's almost 1 o'clock. I guess I should get off here. God almighty. Folks, I appreciate you hanging around as long as it's been. We've been here a while. See what happens, Mark, when you come. It's the same thing that happens, Mark and I, when we're on the phone during the day or something. If we call each other. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours and 35 minutes later, and, we're still talking about getting some lunch or finishing a saddle or, something. Sarlacc pit. Thank you, Don. I wouldn't have remembered that. I enjoy Star Wars. I like the Star Wars movies. I like the Mandalorian. I really like, but I'm not a true Star Wars geek. I don't know all the stuff. I don't know all the terms and all the characters and things like that. Well, that's good, Pearl. I'm glad you did. I mean, this is what I've gotten accomplished, which has actually been a good thing because, we stay here and converse and eat up over 2 hours worth of everybody's valuable time.
Well, I got to have my wife do the feeding this morning, and I didn't have to.
Well, that might be a hint, Mark. You might should do this more often. So I'm thinking she wouldn't buy it too many times.
She
though.
wouldn't buy it too many times.
She'd just tell you, you best get your feeding done early.
Exactly.
Let me back up here and see if I have any other comments I missed. The community is vital to mental health. Pearl, you're so right. It actually does me a world of good to sit here and just clear my head sometimes and just yak to people that I like to talk to. So, Mark, don't leave yet. I'm going to sign you out, but don't go away. And thank you for being here again. I really appreciate you coming on board with me once in a while. And honestly, I'm pretty sure everybody else does too, because they don't have to just sit and listen to me all day. And between you and I, there's topics that have yet far from being explored yet. So
I'm just here to serve.
All right. Well, you hang around for a minute, and I'll come back and tell you bye in a moment. And I'm going to step you out. So bye.
Right,
tell everybody bye, and I'll don't forget. Oh, check the headline news. Oh, I won't, Michelle. I'll go right and do that here in a minute. I hadn't forgot about it yet. I just Pearl, this might have been your first time meeting Mark on here.
Good to meet you, Pearl.
Mark and I go pretty good ways back, a couple 100 years anyway.
Couple 100 years.
Yep, thereabouts. So hang loose. I'll be right back. All right, folks. I really appreciate you coming in. So glad Mark was able to come in today and spend a little bit more time with us. He has a world of knowledge. Maybe next time he's here, we'll talk about fossilized creatures. He lives in a part of the country now where there's a lot of fossilized mammals and dinosaurs and things, and he and his daughter have done quite a bit of looking for that sort of thing over the years. So I hope everybody has a great Saturday. I hope if you're in line of this storm and the weather that you're safe. Listen to the weather, keep up with what's going on. Think about, pray for, whatever you do for the people in Kentucky. They took a hell of a lick last night, and it looks bad. It's usually not good when tornadoes hit, but when it hits a town like it's hit out there, it really does look bad. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate everybody coming here. Thank you for your support. I love y'all, and I will see you all again next Saturday morning if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. And then I'll have to figure out what's going on about Christmas. I don't even know what day Christmas is. So, yeah, hit that thumbs up before you leave. Or, like I said, hit the thumbs down if that's what turns your crank. And either way, I'll appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, consider it. And I'd still like to, one of these days, I'd like to get past 89. Even though it might throw me into another tax break. Oh, I got 90. Oh, somebody signed up today. Hot damn. So I'm up one more. I'm only 10 away from 100. And that's not much compared to most of you folks out here, but for me, that is a milestone. So see you guys all around the stream. I'm hoping to be on more streams again this week. I'm going to try to don't forget Monarch Moments. Michelle, if you're still here, feel free. If you can't, well, send me a link or whatever. They're having a special show tomorrow night, and I can't remember exactly what they're calling it, but I think there's going to be music involved in singing, and no, I will not be one of those singing. So, Kelly, pleasure to see you here. Please say hi to my friend James Ryan if you see him or hear from him or talk to him or whatever the case may be. I miss seeing him around too, talking to him. Let's see what else. Who else said bye? Just for thank you, Dawn, for adding that about the families and the tornadoes. And I really enjoyed this morning. Maybe you guys can't tell, but this means a lot to me just because I get to get online and talk about things that sometimes may not make any sense to most of you folks, but some of you get it, and it always means something to me, or I wouldn't talk about it. Yes, Monarch's Merriest Moments Christmas Special, 6 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. Christmas concert. So I don't think I have a link to that. Maybe I do. Tell you what, hang loose just one moment. Let me see if I have that. And if I do, I'll post it real quick. or if somebody else is in here that can. I don't know if any of my mods are actually in here right now. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. Instagram. Garrett may have sent me that last night. Let me see. While I'm on here, I hope you guys can still hear me. I don't know if you have been paying attention or not, but I've seen Tracy, Glenn, and Matt. They're doing hot sauces one a day. I've enjoyed that so far. I'm waiting for them to hit the money shot. I'm waiting for them to hit one that really blows their top off, because it's got to be out there somewhere. Tracy acts like none of them bother him, and they may not. I used to be pretty good with hot sauce. I'm not very good anymore. My tongue's gotten too sensitive. But Matt, poor old Matt, I'm trying to figure out if Matt's in a situation where in order to hang out with Kinsey, he feels like he has to punish himself by eating hot sauce with Tracy. But, oh, man, I don't see that key. Well, if anybody's got that link, please feel free to post it, and because I don't see it. Okay, let me come back to the stream. Anyway, I hope to see some of you there. I'll see some of you around some other places. I will be in and out later today and tomorrow and next week. So, like I said, I've been missing out of action a little bit because I've just not been feeling well. Actually, I'll be honest. A lot of this had to do with the rodeo being on every night for the last 10 days. So after tonight, it's over. So I'll have a little bit more time to do other things. When this is on, I pay attention to it. It's like I say, I look forward to it all year. So it's one sporting event I rarely miss. I forgot, Michelle. I should have fixed that. So anyway, bye everybody. Hope you have a great weekend. See y'all, and a great week coming up. Please be safe out there, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.